Peter will take the audience on a journey of L-Acoustics history through to the current day and a hint of plans for the future of sound. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Peter OWEN on stage, please.
Okay. Hello. I'm going to just lift this a little. I can be quite loud, or I can be a little bit quieter. So, shall we roll the PowerPoint and just crack through this? So, I'm Peter OWEN. I'm L-Acoustics Sales Manager. I've developed business since 2009 with L-Acoustics. When I joined the company, it was a relatively small company. It's now a global presence in pro audio. So, we're going to tell you a little bit about the day and what has happened over that time. So the agenda, we will look through who I am, the company I work for, and a little bit of background on L-Acoustics. We'll look at what we did in the past and how we changed the world, and we'll look to the present, and we'll have a quick look at the future. We have some products in Hall 1, which is definitely the future for there. So this is me. I was originally a singer, and there's a very embarrassing photo coming up in a minute because I thought I'd include that. I was a sound engineer. I worked with bands like Motley Crue, Starship, and Dogs D'Amour over the years. And now for the last, well, as long as I can remember, almost 30 years I've been a sales professional developing new territories, new markets for L-Acoustic, whether that be Eastern Europe, whether that be Russia in the past, pre the war. Africa, and also here in India as well. So I've covered the world pretty much developing markets for L-Acoustic. Currently looking after Africa and India. India is very exciting. I've been coming here since 2002, which has been very revealing over the years. Worked with many people over the years and enjoyed it greatly. So this was me back in 1985. I was considered a very failed rock star, but that's enough of that one. So we'll move on to L-Acoustics and our mission statement. So I will read it to you because I think it's important. Through our dedication to innovation and product design excellence, we shape the future of sound with technology that enables audio professionals and artists to elevate the listener experience. And that has developed greatly over the years. So if we go back to the early years, it was something that we took from a studio and made it more professional, and then we introduced something that absolutely revolutionized the industry for everybody. So we have four main pillars. We have loudspeakers, which I think we're very well known for. Software, which we do all our own software. When we check and develop speakers, we don't use third party. It's all that we do to test that in-house. Electronics, we build all our own electronics, our own amplifiers. We don't trust any third party to make sure that is optimized to the best for each loudspeaker. And then one thing that we've grown very, very seriously is training. So any system that you purchase from us, you must take training to use it properly. There are many manufacturers that won't do this, but many have now started to adopt this. But we were definitely the pioneers from day one, because when we introduced the technology that I'll talk about later, nobody understood what that was. So we had to educate the market and tell them how to use it. But we'll come to that a little bit later. So when we look at who we are, when I joined the company, it was less than 100 people who worked at the company, but we're now over 800 employees. 50% of the top 20 music festivals around the world use L-Acoustic. We have a very strong presence here in Mumbai with Roger Drago and Manish Mavani as the large two rental houses. We are represented in over 80 countries now. There are certain countries we cannot travel to, but there are over 80 representatives, distributors in each of these countries. We make 85,000 loudspeakers every year, 30,000 electronic processors and we have over 12,000 reference venues around the world. With regards, we talk about training, we've issued 40,000 training certificates globally. That's allowed us to build a knowledge base and a database. When we sell a system, we sell a system with the training, as I mentioned before, but this allows an artist and an engineer, when they travel anywhere in the world, to know they're going to get a consistent product when they arrive. This is where we are in the world. So head office in Paris, which is the bottom middle picture. We have 4 facilities. This is just head office where the offices are. All our production is in Paris. We don't produce in China. We don't produce in Mexico. We produce everything in France. we have a head office in LA, which is in California, in LA, sorry. And in London, we have an office in Highgate. And Singapore is a recently opened office. It's been there 2 years now, just after the lockdown finished. An idea of manufacturing and where the manufacturing is. So main offices and manufacturing, we can see that we have places in France, which is where our woodworking and our metalwork is done in the north of France. We have offices in Europe, which are our head office in France, in Paris, and also in London. And we have supplies from other places as well. One of the critical things we found was when the war happened in Russia and Ukraine, we cancelled all business with Russia and absolutely dismissed them immediately. And I think it's important to stress that with regards to the Ukrainian rental companies that owned our systems, I phoned each of them personally, and we took all of their systems out of Ukraine and offered them to rental companies in Europe, where they rented and paid the Ukrainian companies. The reason I did that was I thought they would get stolen by the Russians as the invading troops, and that was one of the things. So this is our commitment to people and how we look after them. So some examples of what we're doing. So these are some of the venues that we've installed. And some of the concerts we've done. So we have Noel Gallagher from Oasis, Depeche Mode, an old band, and my bad hair day. That's me every day. My hair is bad. And then we have some of the installs that we've done. So it's a very classic traditional buildings where we have to take special precautions and other things to make sure that's correct. It's allowed us to do many things. The Hollywood Bowl is one of the ones that we've done, which is the picture bottom left. We did a launch of L2, which is on the stand in Hall 1. We did the launch of L2 at the Hollywood Bowl. We were the only manufacturer that's been allowed to do a product launch. Even Apple were told no, but they let us do it because we've had a long association with them over the years. We also do a lot of sports venues. So we've done sort of the Summer Olympics from 2012. Since Sydney in 2000, we've always been associated with the opening and closing ceremonies. We do that with the sports as well. So with the football and the Rugby World Cups, we've been involved with that. The Soccer World Cup in Qatar used L-Acoustics pretty much exclusively for opening and closing ceremonies, and also installed into the stadiums. So this is L-Acoustics. L-Acoustics are a world presence, and they are very, very strong. And then we get to the point of today. So looking at live sound history and sort of what's happened over the decades and where we are today and where we are going forward. So live sound's been around. If we remember, I don't know whether you know this picture, but this is the Beatles at Shea Stadium. This was basically the setup that they had. So we all think of the 1960s and Shea Stadium, and I think in our minds we picture big piles of PA. But this was it. So bottom right of the picture is the PA for the stadium. It is literally nothing. And how anybody heard anything, I really don't know. So if we look at this, you have tens of thousands of people, and that is the entire PA. So they probably hear more from the back line than they do actually from the PA. So if we look at the 1960s, mixing desks, amplifiers, and the recording format was very, very junior, shall we say. So a mixing desk would have typically 12 or 16 inputs. Amplifiers only had 100 to 150 watts back then. And that really didn't do much for anything. And then the recording format was LP. And in the 60s, at the beginning of the 60s, it was mono, and it was a breakthrough to do stereo on LPs. So that's the 1960s. That's 60 years ago, 50 years ago. So we step forward to the 80s. We'll skip the 70s because nothing really happened other than love and peace. We look forward to 1980, and we started to have 48-channel input desks. We had 1,000-watt amplifiers. We had big stadium gigs. We can see there's a massive PA there, which is very large. And then the actual format in those days was CD. So we started to see a little bit more in the way of in music and more portable music. And we look at today. So we look at today and we have desks that have multiple inputs, multiple effects, multiple ability to do lots and lots of different things. You have amplifiers that are much more powerful. So, for example, we have something that is a 3 amplifier rack. You get 40,000 watts with that, for example. And then the medium is an iPod. I always get those wrong. An iPod, where you will have that, or even these days it's your phone, where you would have either Spotify or Tidal or something like that to listen to music. And then Christian Heil and Marcel Urban, Christian, who's my boss, introduced line source array. He made the biggest change this industry has ever seen. So we've gone from massive piles of speakers at the side of the stage like this, absolutely huge piles of speakers. This is when I was touring, and I used to have muscles back then. I don't now, because it's much easier for me to just go around and press a button to lift the PA. But we used to stack the PA, and that was very hard work. So this was basically the way that concerts were done. So I found an old photo from Donington Rock Festival. And this was when, I think, if I look at that guy's T-shirt on the left, it looks like Whitesnake were headlining. So this is probably 1987. So this was how things were done. It was literally big piles of speakers. You used to keep the elements together, so the low frequency would be stacked together, the mid frequency would be stacked together, and whatever. But it was time-consuming. It took a lot of trucks. It was hard work. It was very, very unpractical. So Christian presented a white paper to the Audio Engineering Society back in 1992 that he presented it. And in 1993, we then developed a product that is known around the world as VDOSC. VDOSC revolutionized from, if we go back to that, to a single column either side of the stage. VDOSC absolutely changed the world and how we did audio. So if we look at VDOSC as the absolute pioneer and changing thing, when we launched VDOSC, no one knew how to use it. So we didn't sell it for the first 3 years. We only rented it for the first 3 years to build a knowledge base around the world. So once we had that knowledge base, we then started to go to like premium partners and start to sort of talk to them about buying systems and having their engineers trained. The first system here in India was sold in 2006 to Roger Drago, and Roger was a great pioneer for us for many, many years. And he did the Roger Waters gig back in 2006, I think, and he had it then. So he was one of the early adopters, because if you remember, this was presented, it didn't get sold until 1996, and he took it then. So VDOSC changed the world. This is a picture from Sweden. This is one of the first deployments of it, and we can see that you're flying products underneath that, which is ARCs, for example. So we have VDOSC on top, and we have an ARCs product below. We then come forward to today, and we have K1. K1 is now the benchmark in our industry. It is the most requested system throughout Europe and America. We obviously have competition, which is great because it keeps us on our toes, but we are always asked for stuff. So this is Coachella, which is quite a famous festival in California, and it shows basically, if we remember the big stage wings from before, to these two single columns doing more sound, more SPL, better frequency extension through two columns like this. So that's how it was. Other improvements that we've made over the years to improve sound and make sound history stronger and better, we have new technology. So we're going to look at PanFlex. PanFlex, if you come to the stand, the high-tech stand in Hall 1, you can see PanFlex there. And this allows us to control the horizontal coverage. So if you were doing a sound installation and you have a solid wall, this allows you to steer the horizontal field away from the wall. And it also allows you to focus at the top of the array if you're doing 100 meters, 300 feet. Do you use feet or meters? I say feet. 300 feet. It allows you to focus the energy and point it forward. And that will give you an extra 2 dB when you push this together. We look at other technology. One of the biggest things that we found, and L-Acoustics employ people from all different industries. This came from a guy from the automotive industry who says, why do you have straight exits on your ports? Because it gets a lot of turbulence. He says, why don't you make it more aerodynamic? So that is what we did. By doing that, we increased the frequency extension into the low end, and it also made us have more SPL as well. This, I believe, is an Indian artist. Can you see the name on there? Is it an Indian artist? It is. Okay, good. All right. So this was one of the festivals that we did fairly recently, I think. I don't actually know, but I think we did that fairly recently. So that's kind of where we are today. And then when we look to the future, we're looking much more at immersive audio. Everyone's heard immersive audio or variations of that type of word. L-Acoustics' approach to it is been going on since 2011. We've been looking at that and developing what we call ELISA today. So ELISA was a concept because when you go, for example, I'm just going to stand, I don't have a microphone, but if I stand in the center of the stage, still the sound comes from over there and over there. So what we want to do with ELISA is create that image. So as I walk around the stage, it will basically track my sound. You know, if you have a bass player at the back, you can add some depth to it as well if you have a guitarist at the front. So there's lots of different things you can do with ELISA. So we go from a stereo system or a left, center, right system to an ELISA system. Now, ELISA consists of five central hangs, and then you can have extensions beyond that. You can also have overheads as well. So this is really what we're trying to achieve through that. Hello. And then we also look at the new design process that we need to do. So we look at design, process, and control when we're considering ELISA. So we have to see a technical advantage to doing that. So we model that through the design process, the process of putting it together as well, so making sure the amplifiers are used and everything else is correctly done, and then the control through a control platform which you can see online and have a look at. So to do this, one of the biggest issues that we were presented with was people didn't want to ring 5 arrays of speakers because it's a lot of work. If you put a 5-array K2 system up, it's going to take you a lot of time, a lot of effort. So we introduced a new product earlier this year, which is called L-Series. L-Series is on the stand in Hall 1 on the high-tech stand. We did this because it basically gives you the power of 4K2 in one box, and it makes it much easier and much quicker to rig. So this, we believe, is very much the future and how we're going to go forward. And that's it for me, so thank you very much. I don't know how long I was, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peter Owen. May I please invite you back on the stage for a moment? I would like to give you a token of appreciation for such a wonderful session.